Welcome to the Secrets of Weight Loss podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking it out. Where you been? This is episode 3. I'm Roberto, hello, your host and a once morbidly obese guy. I lost 10 stone and I've kept that weight off for over 10 years. And people always ask me, how did you do it? And when I tell them, their reaction is usually the same. Wow, I don't think I could do that. And it always gets me thinking, well, how do other people lose weight? And that's where the podcast came from, The Secrets of Weight Loss. How do real, everyday people lose weight and keep it off successfully? Thank you for all your lovely feedback so far about the podcast. I absolutely love hearing from you. You can get in touch with me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search Roberto Presents. This week's episode involves, in my mind, an extreme way of losing weight. We're going to be chatting to Nancy, a mum of 2 from London, about her weight loss story. And it's another incredible achievement. However, the way she lost weight won't be for everyone, but it is a fascinating insight into what's involved. And it might be something you've considered but weren't sure about, or something that's never crossed your mind. The views and opinions expressed by Nancy are from her own personal experience and not those of the Secrets of Weight Loss podcast or myself. On the website, thesecretsofweightloss.com, you'll be able to read a fully transcribed version of this episode, along with links to Nancy's website and social media. One last thing, don't forget to subscribe, and that way you'll never miss an episode. Let's meet Nancy. The Secrets of Weight Loss podcast. So Nancy, let's start as we always do with how much you weighed before you lost weight.
Okay, so I was always kind of around the 17.5 stone mark, and I had joined Slimming World a couple of times, which I do think is an amazing thing. And I did really well twice on Slimming World, but I just kind of never kept it off. I couldn't keep it off.
So what was it about Slimming World then, that you could lose weight whilst you're on it, but then not keep it off?
So I was always around the 17.5 stone mark, and I lost 4 stone twice on it. But I think the only reason I achieved what I did with Slimming World is because at the time I was like a mum who had just moved to a new area, and my friends weren't really around me. And really, I was just at home on my own and I could stick to the plan. The problem with Slimming World, I think, is when real life hits in and you can't stick to those 15 sins and things like that. I think reality is it doesn't teach you anything about portion control. And obviously those Slimming World techniques that you learn if you're at home are fantastic. But the minute you start eating out, you can't factor those really into your life. So it definitely does work, Slimming World, but it will only work for a certain person at a certain time of their life. And as my life become busier and things like that, and I made friends in my new area and etc., it kind of all went out the window, and that weight went on with more. Both times.
With more. So you were 17.5 stone, you lost 4 stone, and then after coming off Slimming World, you went up to what, 18, 19 stone or?
19 stone. 2 is my highest on the scales that I saw, but I do know I was bigger than that at a certain point. It was just I couldn't brave the scales. Yeah, didn't want to see it.
I know what you mean. You get to a point where you just think, I just don't want to know. How did you feel being that size though?
Well, it's really funny actually, because I have never actually been the kind of person that dislikes himself. I never looked in the mirror and hated myself every day. I was quite confident, and I always kind of did my hair and makeup, made the best of the situation I was in. And it wasn't until I went to a wedding in Cyprus, that holiday, it was kind of like this young, fun holiday with loads of people that I knew, and there was 100 young people, and I was the fattest there by a long mile. And it made me feel so kind of rubbish about myself that I came home and I didn't even really research what I was about to do or anything. I was like, that's it. I'm having this gastric surgery and I am going to get this weight off. It was kind of like a real weird moment in my life where I thought, wow, this is too big. You know, I've taken it a step further.
So up until that point, you weren't really bothered about your weight. You were quite happy, as you say, in who you were.
No, I wouldn't say that it was a big thing. I knew I was overweight. I probably wished that I wasn't as big, but it weren't something that consumed my everyday life. It wasn't something that I sat at home and cried about every day. It just kind of was what it was, because I've never been thin. So for me, it wasn't I've never been thin. I was a big child, a big teenager. I was always big. So it just kind of was what it was.
I was going to ask how you got big then. Was it just that you loved your food?
I don't know, to be honest. Yes, so that I'm guessing so. I mean, I have always been overweight, probably from the age of about 6. And there probably was a tipping point around 13, 14, where it could have gone off as puppy fat, but it really went on from about 15 to 18. It was a big issue.
And so let me get a timeline going here. When did you first do Slimming World?
Well, there's actually a funny thing to this. At 18, I had my first gastric surgery, which was a failed surgery. I never lost any weight, and that was the gastric band.
So what is a gastric band, first of all?
So a gastric band is something that one thing I just want to say I wouldn't recommend to anybody. It's basically like an armband. You know, when you go for your blood pressure check and it tightens up and it's pumped up and you can feel it tight.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. It's pumped up around your stomach to restrict what can go through your stomach. But it really it's problematic, very problematic.
Is it quite a big operation then? Because I suppose they've got to cut inside your stomach and wrap something around it.
Well, I suppose, yes, it's not a small operation, but as far as gastric surgeries go, it's probably the most least invasive because they're not actually cutting your stomach or any of your actual organs. They're just using this device to put round your stomach. Whereas with the actual bypass and the sleeve, they're actually really cutting at your digestive system, your stomach, your intestines and everything like that.
So you had this gastric band, and what age were you when you had this?
I was 18 when I had that, and I was 18 stone.
You were 18 and 18 stone, and what happened with the gastric band? It just didn't work for you?
It just made me really ill. You couldn't swallow. I was sick all the time. And then when I got pregnant at 20, I kind of lived like that for a while, just with these horrible side effects of it, and thought this was my new normal. And then when I fell pregnant with my eldest son at 23, I couldn't feed him where I wasn't absorbing enough food. But it's funny because even though I couldn't absorb food properly, I never lost any weight because you end up eating things called slider foods. So it's things that are really easy to slide through, like biscuits, crisps, chocolate, whereas the things like steak and things you can't chew up into small pieces and protein, you can't eat any of them. So you live off eating absolute rubbish. It was terrible.
See, that just sounds so counterintuitive. You've got this band on to try and help you lose weight, but you're eating crisps and chocolate, and that doesn't sound right at all.
Oh, it was something that I never really researched. I ploughed into head first. And had I done my homework, I probably would never have had that operation done because I don't know. And I know a lot of people through what I now do that have had this operation. And I don't actually know one person it's successful for.
That's really interesting. So you had the gastric band. It didn't work. What did you try after that?
Then it was my Slimming World journey. And I did that twice and it was successful, but obviously just for a certain amount of time or to a point, you know?
And how long did it take you to lose the 4 stone with the Slimming World? You said you did that twice.
20 weeks.
Is that 20 weeks, 4 stone?
Yeah, it was 20 weeks.
Wow.
I just ploughed through it and it was. And one thing I will say about Slimming World that is also a really good thing, and I'm not saying people can't keep it off for the long term because they can. The support groups you get with that are amazing. Some people don't like the groups, but I loved the groups. I loved going in there and getting cheered and, getting your Slimmer of the Week award and Slimmer of the Month and reading all the new recipes and the support. I love all that. I think it's brilliant. And actually, that's one of the reasons I've set up my Instagram for this, because I think people need that support. I needed that support.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the support is really important. I've spoken to other people about weight loss on the podcast, and they sometimes have a different experience, because I think it's probably great for you if you're the one that's getting those awards each week.
Yes.
But if you're going to a meeting each week and you're seeing other people getting these awards and the weight's not just coming off for you, that can send you the other way.
Yeah, definitely could.
I said to one person, my gosh, if I was doing that every week, I just want to go home and eat a tub of ice cream and eat myself happy.
Well, actually, that probably did happen in the end to me, because where I was falling off the wagon, then you start not turning up to group and burying your head in the sand, because once you were that champion and everyone knows your name, and then one minute you're, oh, Nancy didn't lose this week, and oh gosh, she's putting the pounds back on. So then you bury your head in it and you don't end up going to the group ever again.
So you have that side to it too. I'd never thought of it like that. I've never done Slimming World, and I've only heard people's experiences, and I've heard great experiences like yours, and I've heard really bad ones from other people as well. So you did the Slimming World experience twice.
Yeah.
and both occasions you put on weight.
Yeah.
And so did you try anything else before going for your next gastric surgery? Or at that point, you're like, right, I need this weight off?
Nothing really. I'm not a big person that researched loads of diets. It obviously, I tried smoothie diets and things like that. You know, I'll give it a week and I'll be like, I'm not going to eat anything. And then it got to day 5 and I went and ate a kebab, a Chinese and an Indian all in one day because I just let loose, you know. Personally, why I still say Slimming World is the best. And if you can do it that way, it is a great way. It's because it does give you variety. You can still eat the carbs, the meat, the pasta, but you've just got to learn to either portion control it, cook it in better ways than you were cooking it before, you know, with a 5% mince instead of the 20% mince. And, you know, those little lifestyle changes. I think any diet that restricts you completely isn't a diet at all.
So you did the second gastric surgery, and this time it was a gastric bypass?
Yes.
And so run me through what that entails. I know you mentioned it earlier, but what exactly happens?
They remove part of your stomach by making it smaller. So they would obviously, over time, your stomach is stretched probably if you are overweight. So they make it very small so you can only consume a certain amount of food. And they also remove some of your intestines, which is why it's called the bypass, because it bypasses a part of your stomach. So that part of your intestine is the bit that breaks down sugar and fat. I'm trying to make sure I get this right. And so some people with the bypass have trouble like digesting it, but I don't.
It sounds like a huge operation.
It is a very big operation. I can't sugarcoat that. Like, it is a massive operation and it has risks, side effects, consequences. It is a huge operation, but I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do sometimes.
Exactly. You were at this point where you're like, right, I've tried everything else. I'm going for this. And it's worked, but we'll get onto that in a second. How long was the recovery time after having this surgery then?
Downtime was probably like a week. Where you have keyhole surgery, they pump your body up and then you get the wind pain afterwards from where your body's been pumped. But I mean, the incisions are like 1 centimetre to 2 centimetres big. They're not huge. So it wasn't like you were recovering from some of the plastic surgeries I've now gone on to have, but it was still a recovery, you know?
And I presume you didn't have this done on the NHS. You had to go privately, right?
No, you can have it done on the NHS and people do, but you really have to fit a criteria of your BMI would have to be obviously over a certain point where it's causing you serious issues and you have to have severe health issues that could lead to, I suppose, your death.
Do you mind me asking then, you had it done privately. Are you able to give me a ballpark figure as to how much it costs?
In this country, anything from about 9 to 12, depending on where you go, thousand.
£9,000 to £12,000. Wow.
Yeah, it's an expensive op.
It really is. Well, it's a big operation, isn't it? So after you've had this operation, you a week later, you were feeling fine. What did you then eat? Did you have to change your diet? Did you carry on eating takeaways and stuff or what?
So for the first kind of couple of weeks, your surgeon will give you like a guideline. They'll say to you, right, I don't want you to eat, you've got to be on soft foods for 2 weeks. So for the first week, you might be on like shakes and soups, and then you'll go on to things like scrambled egg and smoked salmon and beans, you know, like little things that you can digest easy. And then obviously you'll introduce your meats maybe at week 4 and things like that. So they'll ease you in. But once you're eased in, you know your body yourself, like you can then start experimenting and see how it works.
So did you notice an instant change in the amount of food you were eating once you had it done? Because obviously the whole idea of this is to make your stomach smaller so you don't eat so much.
Oh, definitely. At the beginning, I was eating out of a ramekin, you know, like the little goo dessert pots.
Yeah.
What they come in, I was eating mincemeat out of a goo dessert pot, and that would have been my little meal, and I maybe would have had 6 of them a day.
And would that have kind of filled you up? Would you have felt full at the end of that? I'm just trying to get how it feels having this surgery.
It's a really weird one. I wouldn't say that you felt really full up, but I think a lot of it at the beginning is probably fear. You think like, oh, if I eat too much, my stomach could burst open. So you probably have this fear at the beginning. And also you haven't got an appetite. It actually takes your whole appetite away, but don't worry, that appetite definitely comes back, and you will have, and your portion sizes do get bigger. I'm not eating out of a ramekin now, you know, so things do get normal again. But for the first kind of month, maybe 6 weeks, yeah, it's a bit strange, and you're eating small, strange things, but normality comes back.
Because obviously your stomach can expand, and you can make your stomach smaller on your own, but. Sure. Did you ever have that fear that you might undo all of this?
I still have that fear. I could put on weight if I wanted to put on weight now. I mean, old habits come in and I don't have any problems with eating chocolate and things like that. It doesn't make me feel ill. It doesn't make me feel sick. And some people do get that side effect. So I still can eat a lot less than what I did. I could probably eat a children's portion. If you was to go to a pub or something like that, a kid's portion would be plenty for me. It would be a nice sized meal, and I would eat that and I would be happy with that. But obviously, a few hours later, I could sip in a dessert and I could have a few glasses of wine, and all these things do end up adding up. It's just I now am aware I don't want to be that girl that I was before. So I make the conscious decision now not to do that to myself.
And I think that's what a lot of it comes down to, that conscious decision and your willpower as well.
Of course, 100%. I know people that have had this surgery and gained 6 stone back.
Really? So it can go the opposite way as well?
Yeah. I know people that had it the same time as me that have gained a couple of stone over lockdown. I gained over half a stone in lockdown.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do it. It's not that this is a permanent thing that you won't need to work on.
I see. I kind of thought, and naive as this may sound, that once you'd had that surgery, you wouldn't have to worry about your weight anymore. You were done forevermore.
Oh, no.
You've actually got to work at keeping the weight off.
Oh, sure. I mean, they call it like the first year is your honeymoon period. And I completely agree with that. I think mine was not as big as a year because I lost majority of mine within like 9 months. And I think you get that 9 months where it flies off without you even having to try. And then you might have like a stone left that you want to get off and it's not coming off so easy. So then you've got to put in the work like a normal diet, pick up the exercise or change what you're eating a bit and things like that. And then after that, it's all about maintaining what you've lost. If I wanted to gain weight, I could gain weight.
So you were what, 19 stone when you had this gastric surgery? Is that about right?
I was 19.2 on the day of my op, yeah.
And then what did you weigh 9 months later?
9 months later, I was about 12 something.
That's impressive.
And I remember I obviously had a surgery to remove the loose skin on my legs coming up. And I knew I wanted to get down to a realistic weight of what I wanted to be. So that last stone was like a real push. So by the kind of May, I was where I wanted to be. But the surgery in the January, I think that last stone took me about 4 months to get off.
It's always that last little bit that's the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah.
I struggled with that as well. Like the large majority of my weight came off super quick. I say super quick, within a year kind of thing. And then it's fine tuning it at the very end to get that last bit. And it's that last bit that could be so annoying. Mm-hmm. So you lost like 7 stone in 9 months. Which is brilliant. What do you weigh now?
I fluctuate. I have my your weight I like to be within half a stone. So anything over is like, come on, Nance, get yourself in gear. I'm normally about 11.5 stone. I'll let myself go up to about 11.10 and I like to be about 11.5. That's kind of my ballpark, yeah.
So during that 9 months and after having the gastric surgery, did you do any exercise or was it all about your food?
No. I went to a PT once that you'll see on my Instagram page, but no, and that actually not makes me sad, but I want to love the gym, but I hate it. And that's the truth. I hate it.
Once I lost all my weight, I qualified as a personal trainer because I wanted to help other people lose weight.
Well done.
And I get that same thing from so many people. I want to love the gym, but I just don't like the idea of it. I can't stand it.
I hate it.
Do you hate it though because you don't know what you're doing or because of other people there or what? Do you find it boring?
I've had a lot of skin removal surgery now. And I think I hated the gym because I hated the gym anyway, but I really didn't like it because I knew I would never see any results from it because I would have all this skin. Whereas now I haven't got the skin, I'm hoping that I will be able to see things a lot quicker in the results because I haven't got it all there anymore. Whereas I think I just thought, well, this is pointless. I'm never going to see ab definitions. And what's the point? Because I've got this huge stomach of loose skin underneath,
How much loose skin did you have then after this surgery? Was that a big side effect of the surgery?
Oh, huge. Like you can't lose in total about 9 stone and walk out of there looking like a 17-year-old runway model. It's never going to happen. So my legs were really bad. They were the first thing I was like, I'm tackling those because God, they were really bad. You'd have to see my pictures, but they're all on my Instagram. But I can only describe them. We will laugh. I hope this is okay to say, but like 2 ball sacks between my legs. That's what it looked like. It did. Honestly.
I love the visual image I've got of that now. Thank you.
That is what it looked like. And it made me so self-conscious. It was like, no matter how well I'd done, that made me more self-conscious than probably being big. It was like, you'd done all of this and you were there, you'd made it, but you hadn't made it because you had this, Did
you expect the loose skin? Did anyone warn you that was going to happen when you signed up for the gastric surgery?
Yeah, I did. Of course, I knew it would happen, but I think you don't realise how much it actually can affect you mentally every day unless you actually have it. Because even now, not everyone has agreed with my plastic surgeries that I've gone on to have. My family have been worried and not been supportive of it, some of them. And I think they and anybody else will not understand unless you live with it. They'll be like, well, it's not that bad, just cover it. But it's like, I'm only 30. I could live till I'm 90 years old. Why should I live for the next 60 years looking in the mirror, not liking what I've got in front of me, You've
got to be happy with yourself, haven't you? And people will never understand that from a different point of view unless they're living in your skin and that excess skin, that they just won't get it.
Sure.
So you've had your legs done.
Yep.
What else have you had done to remove the excess skin?
Well, I had a breast lift at the same time I had my legs done, and because obviously they were like 2 little deflated balloons, very sad for them. So I had no implants. I literally just had a lift to make them appear better. Mm-hmm. And then I have recently, 7 weeks ago, had a tummy tuck as well.
Did you have a 360? Is that what it's called, or is that a different one?
60 goes the whole way around your bum and everything. I didn't have a 360. I just had the front. Luckily, actually, my stomach it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad that it required me going the whole way around my body. Mine is just the front section of my body. My back half hasn't been touched.
Again, this surgery is quite big, isn't it? It's not
huge.
It's not a small thing to do. What's the recovery time for having loose skin taken off?
Well, downtime is 3 weeks, definitely. I went driving for 3 weeks. It was a real kind of 10 days of pain and struggle. And then, you get better every day, but you're not back to normal probably for a month, I'd say, truthfully.
And again, this is something you can't get done on the NHS. You have to go private for, right?
No, you can again get this on the NHS. Yeah, you can. But I know people that have had it on the NHS. Some people, unfortunately, have really bad sores caused from loose skin. So the NHS would, in some circumstances, give someone a tummy tuck. But in my case, I would never have got one.
All right. Can you give me a ballpark figure on how much a tummy tuck costs then?
In this country, anything from 7 to 10.
Wow. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And how do you feel now then? Is there anything else you want to get done?
No, I'm good to go now. Well, I hope so.
So let's talk about what you eat then. What did you eat before you lost all the weight? Could you run me through a day? Do you remember what you might have?
Definitely was a secret eater as well. So I'm a brilliant cook. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but it runs in my family. My mum actually won Britain's best dish. We're a family of cooks. So
just going back then quickly here, you mentioned you were a big kid. Do you reckon it was because your mum was such a great cook and she just cooked amazing food and you just ate it?
There is definitely finger pointing within the family.
I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm just working out.
There definitely is. Over the years, fingers have been pointed at people within the family of the blame of Nancy's weight gain. I do think there was things like that, but then I do remember there's this story that my mum used to make packed lunches, and our packed lunches, and I'm known for it as well, are not any like rubbish packed lunch. My kid goes in with a salt beef sandwich and stuff with pickles in it. So
wow.
It's my mum used to make these brilliant lunches, and then at the end of the term, she had this bill for school dinners, and she was like, "Well, I don't know, this must be wrong because Nancy has a packed lunch." And I had been eating my packed lunch and saying that I was on a school dinner card and racking up a tab as well. So you can't.
That's it. It's all making sense now. I get it.
Yeah, you can't fully blame.
I think we've solved the problem here. You eat very well, or you ate very well.
Yeah.
And you're a great cook. So what did you eat before you got fat, and what do you eat now then? Because obviously you still must love cooking.
I love
cooking. But you must be aware more of what you're putting in the food and what you're putting in your body.
Okay, so what was I eating before I obviously got what to make me gain this weight? Rich foods, probably boredom, like you said. I had one of my children quite young. I moved to an area that I had no friends, that I had a lot of time, and cooking is something I love, you know. A secret eating as well. I definitely did that. I remember doing it. So it's not that I lived off takeaways, but I would make a sandwich while I was waiting for food to be cooked. You know, I'm standing making the bolognese for dinner, but I'll quickly rack up a little sandwich of salami and cheese or something like that. It was just mad stuff.
Do you know why you were doing it, though? Because obviously you had that food coming, but you're also like, oh, I'm going to have something now. Just because you were hungry, or because you were bored, or?
I think greedy. And that is the bottom line. I know people sometimes dive down into why they've done this and why you've gained weight. And I don't think I need to. I just think I was greedy. I honestly do. I liked my food. I mean, nothing really traumatic has gone on in my life. I just think I was greedy. And that is the bottom line. I loved cooking and I'm greedy.
So since you've had the gastric surgery then, how has your eating habits changed? Obviously, you eat smaller portions now, but you've learned about food as well?
Oh, sure. Like, I actually learned a lot through my Slimming World. Slimming World, one thing it teaches you is actually what goes into things. So, like, someone would maybe go and grab a Dolmino sauce from Sainsbury's, actually not knowing how much sugar is in that. Like, I learned a lot through my Slimming World days, and I still use that and incorporate that in my everyday life. I would still make a Slimming World bolognese. Why would I not? Why would I make a really fattening bolognese when I can make a delicious not fattening one? It doesn't make any sense, you know? So I learned a lot through my Slimming World, which is probably kind of why I've done so well with my gastric surgery, because I'm combining the two. I'm eating less, but I'm still using some of those brilliant techniques that I learned from my days at Slimming World.
You mentioned you send your kids off to school with a packed lunch. Are you wary of making them fat?
Very.
Really?
It's a really weird thing now, and it shouldn't, but I do. When I see, or if I walk past a child that is not chubby, but noticeably overweight, it really makes me sad because I know what their future could be. So I'm really lucky. One of my kids is the pickiest little child in England, and my other child absolutely loves his grub, but he's so sporty, and he literally does every sport every day that you can imagine, from karate to football to futsal to all these kinds of things he is into. And I think if Denzel suddenly stopped doing all this sport, and I was sitting there thinking, oh, I think this could lead in other directions. Everything that I give them is healthy because I make it. I would definitely think, right, okay, without making a big deal of it, this needs to be curbed. I don't want to highlight it, but I will curb it, you know? And I am very conscious about giving them home cooked, nice food and making it good for them, you know, and what their portions are washed. Yeah. Do
you educate them as to what goes in their food, or are they too young for that? Or
Denzel's 7.5, and listen, they see my pictures, like they know what mummy looked like, and if they ever ask or something like that, Denzel's obsessed. He's like, my mum's got a blue tick on Instagram and things like that, and he's like, why have you got it? And I'm like, because people want to see my journey, Denzel. And I'll say, you know, mummy didn't look after herself, and mummy ate too much, and she wasn't sporty like you, and things like that. And I mean, Lenny hasn't got a clue what's going on, but Denzel does. And he asks me questions. And I always say to him, it's so important to look after your body. You only get one body. And I do educate them in a good way. I do.
So tell me, what is the best thing then about losing all this weight?
There's probably too many, but it's actually probably being a better mum. And being able to do things. And I think that was probably one of the reasons as well. I remember walking in Denzel in reception in September, and I had the operation in the October, and I was the only fat mum in the playground. And I was aware of that. And I didn't want my children to be embarrassed of me. I was huge, you know, like that. I didn't want that for them. I didn't want them to notice that, you know. So
you not only did it for yourself, I suppose you did it for your kids as well.
Of course I did it for my kids. I couldn't even run with them. I was the kind of parent that my kids would want to go out on the bikes, and I'd be like, oh, just take your iPads, kids. Let's just sit in, because I didn't want to go out, you know? It's.
And so now, yeah, you can go out on a bike with them, or go and have fun with them, run around with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's completely changed. Our Sundays are spent outside. Yesterday we were over in Hackney and Victoria Park, where we are all the time, and got the bikes out and stuff. Like, yeah, we do fun outdoor stuff now as a family.
So if someone was going to ask you for advice, like I know you do consultations and sessions through your website, what would you say to them about losing weight?
You only have one body, and I abused my body for years and years and years and years. And I think you don't realise actually the changes that will come through losing weight. And I don't think there is any time like now. I'll be honest. I wish I would have known about that gastric surgery sooner, because I don't believe I ever could have done it without it.
Really?
I believe. Yeah, no, I really don't. I don't think it would. I think I could have done it, but it would never have stayed off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Even though you knew everything from your Slimming World days and all the things you were learning there, you reckon you would have just yo-yoed backwards and forwards? Slimming World, lose some weight?
Oh, 100%. I have no doubt that this never would have stayed off without that gastric bypass. And I just wish I would have done it sooner.
Do you think that's a mental thing, though, knowing that you've had something internally done to you and, like, you don't want to undo what you've had done? Or is it something else?
No, I think that even now, I could want to be a bit bingy, but I can only binge to a certain extent because I've obviously had this done. Sure. Whereas before I could have gone on and on and on. I can't do that anymore, So I definitely just think there's no time like now. If you want to lose weight, lose the weight, and it will completely change your life in so many ways. I can't tell you how many ways it's changed my life. It's
fantastic to hear, and you look amazing. So let's wrap up then. Your one secret to weight loss would be, from your experience, gastric surgery?
100%. I think you know in yourself whether you will lose it without one of these. And I think there's people out there that just know it's never going to happen otherwise. And that's the truth.
Nancy, thank you so much for talking to us today on the Secrets of Weight Loss podcast.
Thank you.
It's been really good.
Roberto, thank you.
Your story's just incredible. So much to think about in there. Thank you for that. You can follow Nancy on Instagram. She's always posting some brilliant stuff. She is Nancy's_Odyssey. If you missed that or want to read a transcribed version of this episode, you can find all the details on our website, thesecretsofweightloss.com. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. I'll catch you next Wednesday. Don't forget to subscribe. The Secrets of Weight Loss. Find out more at thesecretsofweightloss.com.